It's a privilege and an honor to be here amidst all of you today. And I'd like to, I mean 10 years is a substantial amount of time, and I think now one can sort of look back and talk about the preparation, what it led to, how my career has been so far. To begin with, I think I was always a little confused that whether I wanted a career in academics or I wanted a career in administration, because both were fields which were sort of very close to my heart. Academics because, during I did my master's at City University, London, and while I was there, you sort of tend to get very enamored with your professors, with the sort of knowledge they have, with their command on their subjects. So academics was a profession that really attracted me. In terms of administration, I mean, I come from a long line of civil servants. My great-grandfather used to be a tehsildar in the British Times. And from then on, every generation has seen its fair share of officers. So you feel that sense of legacy which you want to carry forward. But, so while I was preparing for civil services, I also simultaneously took my UGC NET, I qualified that, and I started teaching at DAV College. And surprisingly, I mean, as much as I was in awe of the profession, I didn't enjoy it at all. The fact that I was teaching at DAV College might have had something to do with it, because, I mean, it's not like the idea of teaching and, the kind of students that one imagines one will be interacting with. But having said that, once I got into administration, there was a certain apprehension that, first of all, do I have what it takes? Will I be able to do justice? And, I've always considered myself a very mild-mannered person, so I was a little skeptical if I'd be able to, if I'd fit the job. But again, surprisingly, I started enjoying it so much, and there are many reasons for that, but what I'd like to share with all of you, the most important reason, and I think if you keep that in mind all throughout, it's also a very humbling thought, that no matter where you are, what role you're performing, where you're posted, see, once you get into service, you realize some postings are probably more sought after than others. There's some, assignments which are probably more prestigious than others. But irrespective of where you are, what you're doing, what your department is, what your posting is, the subject matter is always people. Whatever you do, whether you write a positive or an adverse remark on a file, whether you're sitting and working on a policy, or whether you're in field and working on some assignment there, it's always people that you're dealing with in a very real way. So that, if you keep that in mind, it's a very humbling thought, and I think it really holds you in good stead, and it's a very gratifying feeling as well, that something small or some small decision which you've taken, behind that there's a real life, there's a real person who's being affected in a very tangible way. So that for me was, I think, the first and the most important thing that I realized and I felt when I came into the job. I've had, like I said, that I don't think any other profession offers you this the sheer spectrum of job roles, of the kind of duties that you have to perform. I think maybe it was within a span of 1 month that we were also working towards conducting the Lok Sabha elections. I also got the opportunity to attend a workshop in London where it was organized by the Getty Institute, and it was for conservation of heritage buildings, because I was then director of Museum and Art Gallery. I also was invited to the Riedberg Museum in Switzerland to the opening of an exhibition where we had sent our artwork. At the same time, we were winding up a department. There was a department of rural development which we I think another aspect of the job is, especially when you're in field, on a lighter note, there's never a dull day. You know, there's just all the time you're firefighting, you're trying to, like, you know, some situation will come up which will be unprecedented maybe. I mean, nothing else. If you look at the COVID situation that came before us. So I was I was in my 3rd month of pregnancy when you know, the pandemic hit full-fledged. And I mean, it's all right, like, you understand the risks, you understand the situation, but what has to be done has to be done. So right up till my 6th or 7th month, I was during, like, my full-fledged pregnancy, I was in the police control room. We were, you know, tackling the calls that were coming on the 100 number, and, you know, any whether some ambulance had to be sent, whether some isolation had to be arranged, hospitalization had to be arranged. We were doing all of that, you know. So I don't think any other job gives you that kind of, you know, when you really have to think on your feet, you know you have to find a solution, and sometimes you know you will find a solution, because what's the alternative, right? Like, you have to, it has to be done, so it will be done. I remember there was a state level function which we had to organize, and we got to know a day before that it has to be organized the next day. And there were dignitaries from all over the country who were coming for that function, and I just happened to mention casually to you know, one of my, we were sitting, a few of us, one of my senior colleagues. I said, you know, how will it be done? There's just a day. And, you know, he very casually remarked, he said, if the government can't do it in a day, that means it can't be done at all. At that time I thought, I mean, it's just one of those things people say, but over the years I don't think I've heard a truer statement. It doesn't matter what is the scale of the event, of the activity which has to be organized. Genuinely, if the government cannot pull it off in a day, that means it can't be done. And if it can be done in a day, then it will be done. You know, it's as simple as that. And I see a lot of ladies here. So specifically, I'd like to address this bit to them. I think the job has its fair share of challenges, especially when you start off young. There's, of course, you know, you feel there's nothing you can't do. But slowly, of course, when you have a family, when you have children, one should also strive towards a work-life balance. You know, I think that is something which I like to share, which I feel is very important, because professional achievements are one thing, but, you know, a family life and the sanctity of a family life is paramount as well. I would like to speak to you about the preparation aspect of how to get here, but I feel over the last decade a lot has changed in terms of, you know, how the preparation is now supposed to be, what kind of demand that you have, the kind of process that you're supposed to undergo. But I will share with you a couple of challenges which I faced, some of which I was able to overcome, some of which I wasn't. I think the most important challenge, I wouldn't say important, I mean, one of the challenges that I really initially, I faced was, I was reading a lot of material. Every day, my newspapers, magazines, books, I was reading so much, but I was not able to retain as much. You know, like, retention was genuinely a very big problem for me, because I was very fond of reading, so reading came very naturally to me. Like, in maybe a day's time, I was able to finish a book which was fairly thick, but then when I would try to think of what is it that I read, or I would try to talk to someone about it, there was very little that would come back to me, and that was very disturbing, you know, because you're doing so much, and it's so. Then subsequently, I became very meticulous about how I was making my notes. Initially, I think my notes were a little rushed. I mean, I was jotting down what I was doing, but I don't think they were so methodical. I don't think I was writing too much, and honestly, who's going back to really thick notes? If your notes are almost as thick as your book, what's the point, right? So then I became a little careful about how to make my notes. You know, what needs to be highlighted, how much needs to be written, what are the really you just need to glance at once. So that helped me, and then what I would do was, during the day, whatever I read, at night before sleeping, right before I would sleep, once I would go through the notes I had made for the day. And I tried to keep my notes quite concise so that it was easy to go through them at night once. Then, at the end of the week, I would again, maybe say on a Sunday or a chosen day, whichever day you decide, you go through your week worths of notes. Whatever I've made during the week, I would just browse through that at the end of the week. I did a similar exercise at the end of the month. That genuinely helped me better with my retention, because you read so much but you can only remember so much. So what you really need to remember and what needs to stay with you is a more concise document which you keep browsing through repeatedly, and repetition always helps. This was a challenge which I faced, which I was able to overcome. The other challenge which I faced was I did not have much of a peer group that was preparing for civil services. I started preparing a little late. I finished my college, I did 2 years of studying abroad, and then I came back. Most of my school friends were not preparing for civil services. The people from my college who were, I sort of lost touch with them. So I didn't have that kind of a peer group. And sometimes when I would go to the library, I would see, hostelers, they would sit together. Even when they were taking a break, they were going for a cup of tea, they were still discussing what they were studying. Some of them would tell me late at night, they would just to, sort of unwind, they would go to each other's rooms, they would again be discussing what they were studying. That is something which I really missed out on, and I feel had I had that aspect with me as well, it would have definitely helped me more. So I started preparing a little late, and I did not have the right kind of peer group around me. So if you can work towards creating a peer group which is sort of involved, and that also helps you not get distracted, because in my case I more or less had to cut off with all my friends because they were doing very different things in life which did not require this kind of perseverance or that kind of dedication towards just one thing. So then you also tend to feel that maybe you are missing out on things which they are doing. In case you have a similar set of friends who have a similar objective in mind, who have a similar goal, it's more of a support system which helps you. So if you can work towards that. Finally, there's one last thing that I'd like to talk to you all about, and that is having a full life, leading a full life. Your career, whatever you become, whether in civil services, anything else, you could be all that you wish to be professionally, but still it's very important to understand that your profession is but a part of your life. It is but a part of who you are. It cannot and should not define you fully. There is much more to life, and if you remember that, whatever you do, it will be a fuller life, it will be a happier life. Now, in my case, for example, like I said, I have 2 beautiful daughters, and I think they have brought in a dimension to my life which was, I don't think anything could have given me that kind of fulfillment. But also, I am not just a civil servant and a mother, I am more than that. I love reading, I'm very passionate about writing. I hope I can write something of some consequence someday. I make sure at the end of a long day, after I finish with my work, I've given all the time to my children, I make them sleep, at least half an hour to 45 minutes I keep to myself where I can sit back with a book and enjoy that. So don't let any one singular thing define who you are, because that's not how it's supposed to be. There's so many aspects to us, there's so many facets to our personality. Let's enjoy all of them, and let's, like I said, try to lead a fuller life where you are more than any just one thing that you're doing. So on that note, I wish all of you the best in your pursuits. I hope you do very well. Whatever you decide to do, whatever you your mind on. I hope you do exceedingly well in that. But I also hope that you explore other aspects of life and of your personality and you find